Deuxième skeleton de trace à l'arrivée. Temps de départ 6,79.
Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour monsieur. Good morning everybody. Welcome to the French Alps. We're in the shadow of Mont Blanc at Laplagne, the venue for sliding in the 92 Albertville Winter Games. And it is a snowy morning as we start the first action of a weekend that will see women's skeleton with a full field. 31 sleds, was due to be 32, but the world champion Suzanne Creer has pulled out of the competition this morning, taking on this French Olympic track. And this is the first time we've been back here in nearly 3 years, since January 2020, the last race here. It's a tricky track. It's not the longest, only 1,500 meters, but this start area, keep running, keep running. There's the crest as you start to go over. Elena Nikitina with the start record at 6 flat. The athlete's saying it's like a marathon. Little first corner, then into a tiny little corner 2. Easy to skid here and in corner 3. First big pressure corner is corner 4, the long right-hander. Sort of pressure in a bit there. And again, quite shallow here, down into turn 5 and 6. Then through the left-hander, corner 7. And building up speed now as you go through this fast switchback labyrinth, 4 corners, left, right, left, right. You can see that it covers all the way over the track, so the track is covered for its entire length. The snow this morning will not affect the race, and that's one of the great advantages they have here at Laplagne. They earn their money keeping this track alive with tourist runs, and that will start, the season starts next weekend. In fact, the ski season, everything is open from next weekend, including this track for the tourists. They have a lot of tourist rides here. 19 corners, this is the last of them. And again, easy to skid out of here, hit the wall, and scrub off time before you get to the timing eye. And then the long in-run into the finish area. Well, after our first race in Beijing 3 weeks ago, winner Tina Hermann is our World Cup points leader from Xiao Dan of China and Mimi Reneva of Canada. Suzanne Creer, 4th in the world rankings, as I said, has pulled out overnight, so the world champion will not compete. She hasn't raced here before in her career, not raced here. And that's the case for a lot of the athletes. Some of them have come here for training camps, not everybody though. Well, as you can see from the pictures, snow is falling. The covered area where they prepare the sleds, the skeleton sleds, there's room for them all under the roof. There's not room for all the bobsleighs under the roof. That will be out in the snow, should it snow tomorrow and Sunday. And actually, the forecast is for more precipitation. And just saw a little shot there of Liechtenstein's Katrina Eigenmann. I think for the first time in World Cup action, as you see Kelly Dalker, Puerto Rico, we have 3 new nations in women's skeleton. I don't believe we've ever had a women's skeleton slider in the World Cup from Liechtenstein, so that's a new one. Colombia with Laura Vargas. I don't believe we've had a Colombian women's skeleton slider, or probably men's skeleton slider, although, well, certainly not this century. And Shannon Galea from Malta, again, another new nation. So we've got a whole host of new sliders. We've got 7 making their World Cup debut, and another half dozen with fewer than 3 starts in the World Cup. And as far as I'm aware, 3 brand new nations. Well, not quite a brand new nation. Brazil, you saw Nicole Silveira there from Brazil. Ana Torres Quevedo from Spain will be first off, ahead of Italy's Alessia Crippa and Jane Channel. Then Tina Hermann, the former world champion, Valentina Margallo, Kim Marmons and so on. We go down through the order, and then we get to our rookies just outside the top 15. Katrina Eigenmann, Shannon Galea, Laura Vargas, and also Anja Unterschneider, Anna Zaulita, and Sarah Schmidt, and Julia Simpson, also a new slider to the World Cup. Race 2 of the Women's Skeleton World Cup in Laplagne, France. It is Spain's Ana Torres Quevedo who gets us underway, the 22-year-old making her 2nd World Cup start. She was in Beijing, made her debut there on the Olympic track. Started in February 2021. A little bump out of the first corner. Now, the first 3 sliders in the draw are taken from those outside the top 15 in the World Cup standings. For the first time this weekend, we will see the new rule in skeleton brought in. First of all, that there are up to 32 sliders in the field because of the demise of the Intercontinental Cup. We have more sliders eligible for World Cup. Big hit there from Anna. Trying to keep it as neat and tidy as possible. When you're new to this track, there is a lot to learn here. It's a real driving track. It's not a gliders track like Innsbruck next week. And with 19 corners rather than 9, there's a lot to learn. 53.78 across the line. Well, at the split. And across the line, out of corner 19. 65.80. Well, there is Richard Bromley, who's helping out. Anna Mirambel, who set up and runs the Spanish team, is with the Youth Olympic Games youngsters. And so Richard helping out this weekend with the Spanish. Again, you can see little late flop. If you don't have experience of any track, it's hard to get the timing right. And there are so many corners here, so many opportunities for things not to go right. So a couple of decent hits there for Anna. Now, as well as a bigger field going in, there will be a bigger field in the second heat as well. The top 25 in the skeleton races now go through, not the top 20. Go, go, go! Alessia Crippa, 22 years old, 23 years old now. 14th in Beijing, a former alpine skier from Italy. 6:27, that's a decent start. It is a long start area. You're not going to see anybody getting down to 5 seconds. Ready with good speed, about 1 kilometre an hour quicker than Ana Torres Quevedo. And Alessia with a little bit more experience under her belt, a bit more speed at the start. And although she may not know the track as well as some of the others, or some of the other tracks rather, this is a neater, tidier run. Every time you hit the wall, it takes energy out of the sled that would otherwise be accelerating you down a mountain. And this track winds itself down a very steep, narrow V-shaped valley. Just a little cleft in the rocks in the middle of the Alps here. Start is about 1,600 metres above sea level. 62.88, that's a pretty decent run. That should see her through into the second heat. 2.9 seconds clear of Ana Torres Quevedo. So Alessia Crippa with perhaps a more representative time of what we might see. Is that snow or tape, or so a bit of tissue there on the front of her helmet? Again, look at the big pressures, the big take on there. You saw her face just got crushed down into the ice. And in fact, that's the reason, or part of the reason, why we're not seeing Janine Flock here this weekend. She did come and start training, but having injured herself, injured her nose in pre-season training in Sigulda, she broke it here. Jane Channel next up. 20th in the last race that the women had here, which was January 2020. The previous time we came here was in 2015. The women's race was called off. The men did have a one-heat race. So for our female sliders, this is really relatively unknown territory. Jane in the green by a whisker, 6:19 at the start, keeping that slight advantage alive. Was 800s down to 700s. And there are not many sliders who are really vastly experienced here. Quite a few training camps here over the last few years, particularly for the younger sliders. So some of those development squads do come here. 2400s up. The experience of the more veteran sliders definitely pays, because they can relate what they're finding here to other tracks that they know. 62.61. Again, like now, we're looking at that, probably putting her through into the second heat. Where she stacks up with regards to the top sleds, we will have to wait and see a little.
We're high in altitude.
We are high in altitude. Over 1,600 meters above sea level at the start here, and that is higher than St. Moritz. We always think St. Moritz is a long way up, and it is. But yeah, walking here is breathless stuff. Next up, Tina Hermann, four-time world champion, our race winner in Beijing, our World Cup points leader, hence the yellow vest. Bundestrainer Christian Bald behind her. A little bit of noise there at top again. The start area well covered here, so you don't run into wind or snow. 6.75. Just a whisker slower than Ana Acevedo. Again, like Jane Channel, where Tina Hermann wins here, is in her experience. She has raced on this track. She was 5th here in the 2020 race. But also she can use all of her knowledge and bring that to bear. And the longer the track is, and the harder the track is, the more Tina Hermann has a chance to undo the lack of starting speed. Still in the red here. The gap was out to 8/10. Now it's down to 6/10. We're already 2/3 of the way down the track. She's starting to run out of ice time. 4800s. She was 5600s back at the start, so she's out driving Jane Channel at the moment. And across the line, 2100s back. Well, that puts her in the frame. 62.82. Well, she's shaking her head there. It does actually show Jane Channel's run in a very good light. The thing I love about Tina is it's always relatively easy to tell what she's thinking. She's rarely happy with her first run. But boy, does she love to win a race. Just a couple of little toe steers there, and again here, look, just a little subtle shift to the hips. Almost had her toe down, but not quite, just putting the pressure on the runners where she wanted it. Work to do for the second heat, though, for Tina Hermann. Next up, Italy's Valentina Margado. The 30-year-old has got a prodigiously quick getaway. Ooh, just a little slip there, was there? Or a bit of over-rotation. 6.23 compared to 6.75 for Tina Hermann and 6.19 for Jane Channel. Again, Jane, 35 years of age, has lost very little of her start speed. Third best at the moment for Valentina, the second fastest start. Fourth best speed, it's dropping away a little. The gap is widening. First race of the season for Valentina. She's not raced here before either. Second best speed, coming back now. In terms of pace, again, legs akimbo, lots of steering work going on. Gap's down to 1700s. She's ahead of Tina Hermann, and any day you're ahead of Tina Hermann is a good day for you. 1600s back at the line, 62.77. Again, we've got a big field, 31 sleds to get through, and Valentina only the 5th down. Temperature overnight was about -5. It's about -1 down to 0 at the moment with the snow in the air. Now let's take a look here. Does she slip? Yes. The left foot just didn't get purchased there right when she got level with Fiestas. So I'm afraid he's probably missed that shot. Yeah. Well, it's just that's just that little final power stride. Jane Channel leader, 5 down, loads to go. Kim Armand of Belgium. Richard Bromley helping out with the coaching here. Kim 9th in the race here in 2020. I noted on her social media that they are organising coach trips from Belgium to the World Championships. €45 per head return trip. That's a heck of a bargain, isn't it? To get to Winterberg for the Worlds. What a great way to build a crowd. Kim Malmans is worth following. Look at that, best speed of all, just 400s back. 1200s behind Jane Chandler at the start. Whoa, kind of wild and high. A little rub on the wall as well. Level, and now that speed is starting to work for her. Oh, big take on there, really brutal. Only the 5th best speed. It's all getting away a little bit at the bottom, but she's going to be within about 1500s. If she can keep it clean, another tap on the wall. 1600s back is Valentina Margallo. 2nd or 3rd? Oh, 5th. Ooh. There's Richard Bromley, head coach of the Brazilian team, helping out with the Belgians as well. Brazil and Belgium working very closely together. That's the double B logo that you see on some of their jackets. Yeah. Top half was very strong. Second half a little less so. Watch the hard take on. Oh, look at that. Really, again, and this is the one that we saw in close-up. The take on is so hard. She was a little early onto the corner, got onto it right as the fillet was starting to build. Yeah, it does indeed. So no Suzanne Crea, which means that our silver medalist in Beijing, Xiao Dan of China, is next up. Behind her you can see the Chinese coach Dirk Matchens. None of the athletes have got real knowledge of this track. Most of them have been here for an out-of-season camp, but only really a couple of days. And for him, it's all about get down, stay healthy. Top speed, though, from Xiao. Is that right? She was 3/10 back at the start. I don't think that was right. 7200s back. The plan basically for our Chinese sliders is try and make the second heat damage limitation, particularly physical damage limitation. You don't want to get hurt early in the season. Only had one race. Xiao knocking it out of the park in Beijing. She was the first heat leader, held on to take the silver medal behind Tina Hermann. Great result for the Chinese athlete and for the team to start the season. Across the line, 6th place, 64.35. So 6:49 at the start. Kim Malmans in 5th, ahead of Xiao Dan. Alessia Crippa 4th. 7 sleds down. Again, you saw the little late exit, rocking and rolling. Leads her into a big tap on the wall and big height there. Trying hard not to fight it. Again, you see both legs trailing. Legs akimbo, the further apart the legs are, the less you get yaw in the sled. Now then, Anna Fernstedt from the Czech Republic. 13th here in 2020. Her 47th World Cup race. In comparison, Jane Chandler ahead of her. 66 World Cup starts. Tina Hermann today is her 74th World Cup start. World Cup only. So some vast experience in the field, and of course the most experienced of them all, Janine Flock, is not here. When Janine next starts a race, we're going to be nearly into triple figures. So Fernstedt, 56 back at the start, 89 hundredths back now, and a second best speed at the bottom. If that's right, or even close, then she could haul herself up from where she is, about 6th place, maybe into about 4th place. Trying to chase down Kim Malmans, who, like Anna Fernstedt, is a product of the German system in Berchtesgaden. So there's the coach, Agathe Bessard, who should be sliding here for France. Her dad is the track manager, but Agathe tore her hamstring at the end of last season in training for the World Champs, and she had to have a second operation in the autumn, so she's not fit yet. But she does know this track and its ins and outs. So mixed emotions for Agathe Bessard. There's a World Cup race on her home ice. She did race here in 2020. It was one of her first ever World Cup starts. Might have been her debut, actually. But here, having to coach and trying to help out Anna Fernstedt. It is breathless stuff. Next up, Canada's Mirela Reneva. And Mimi starting her 49th World Cup race. World Championship bronze medalist. Took the bronze in Beijing as well. And then raced here last, she finished in 7th. Yelled off by coach Joe Cicchini. 6:38 start, puts her in the frame. So 5th best start, 1900s back on the getaway. Mimi is normally a little closer to the front of the field in terms of pace. But again, this is a very different start to many. This is probably the longest, flattest start area of them all. Skeleton athletes always say it's like a marathon, not a sprint. May just be that her explosive power kind of runs out in a shorter distance. Top 5 run at the moment. She's ahead of Kim Meilmans, just about. Only the 7th best speed. She's going to drop behind. Will she be ahead of Anna Fernstedt? She should be. 4800s back at the moment. Well, Meilmans was 3700s back at the line. Fernstedt 63, so it should be 6th. It is a 63.20. And that will not result in a beaming smile from Mimi Reneva. Well, 6th place at the moment, so being chased back down by the crash mats. Again, the bounce and the hard take on a little later onto that corner than some that we've seen, so the take on not quite so severe. So Jane Channel leads for Canada as we get to our next athlete, our 10th slider, Li Yuqi of China. 7th in the race in Beijing, her home Olympic track. That was her World Cup best. Previous best was 12th in Altenburg in January of this year. She has not raced on this track, so like Xiao Dan, really at an experience deficit, particularly compared to somewhere like Eagles in Innsbruck, where we race next week. She will feel much more at home there. You can see she's using arms and elbows as well. You can see the elbow up from under the body, alongside the body. Put in the big steers. 7th fastest starter, 7th on the split. So ahead of Xiao Dan, ahead of Anna Fernstedt at the moment. And it's actually a relatively clean run. She's keeping it pretty much down the middle of the track. 8th place at the moment behind Fernstedt. So the battle of the Chinese sliders, it's her versus Xiao Dan, and it is a better looking run than Dan. And she comes across the line more than half a second ahead of her teammate. She actually managed to creep in under the wire ahead of Mimi Reneva. I beg your pardon, no, ahead of Xiao Dan, behind Anna Fernstedt and Mimi Reneva. So 63.73, and again you can see having to push the sled the last few meters up the in-run. Well, 6:56, not the fastest start. But the key here for the Chinese athletes is lack of knowledge of the track. So there she is, Li Yuqi. Jane Channel leads, 10 down, 21 to go. 15 more places in the second heat up for grabs. Kimberly Vos of the Netherlands, World Cup start number 53 for Kim. 30-year-old World Championship silver medalist, Olympic bronze medalist in the 2 seasons. What a couple of years she's had, and the year before that, 2021-22, Kimberly was the World Cup champion. So she has had some really exceptional results around the last 2 or 3 seasons. Let's see what she can produce here. 5th best start, only 1800s back. 2nd best speed. See a very different sound to her Bromley sled from the Schneiders that we've heard, particularly over the last few sliders. Schneider always has more of a rattle to it. The Bromley sled seems to dampen out the noise a lot more, and that's just the way it's built. 800s back. She's gone from 1800s behind at the start to 2300s. Now she's in the lead over Jane Channel. Top draw effort from Kimberly Boss, 62.49. That's a great run, and that puts her right in the frame. Well, she didn't race here in 2020. There was no race here in 2015, so this is her first World Cup start on this track.
Hello.
Hello.
Hoi.
Well, lots and lots of new athletes coming through in bobsleigh and in skeleton in the Dutch programme. Their, well, not new sponsor, but their sponsor Newcold has really turned up the heat, really turned up the funding. There's a whole bunch of new...
Allemaal, leuk dat jullie kijken op de vroege vrijdagochtend.
See, couldn't have put it better myself.
Nee.
Whole bunch of new athletes coming. Next up for Brazil, Nicole Silveira, 29-year-old former bobsleigh brakewoman. And a brand new helmet this season. Last year was in the colours of Ayrton Senna, Brazil's motor racing hero. This year she's got a helmet that was designed with the help of a whole bunch of school kids from Brazil. So was the belly pan of her sled, representing Amazon rainforest flora and fauna, and with the Brazilian Jaguar on the helmet. 2200s back, 9th best start, and losing very little time here. This is a nice looking run for Nicole. Again, she didn't race here. The 21-22 North America's Cup champion. Had a good season in World Cup last year. Her best 8th place in Whistler, a track that she knows very well indeed. 4/10s back, top 6 run from Nicole Silveira of Brazil. This put her ahead of Kim Marmans, Mimi Reneva, Anna Fernstedt. How close to Alessia Cripper, 7th place. So behind Cripper, behind Marmans. Richard Bromley, the coach, very happy with that. He'll be working hard. They've got lots of new ideas coming in on the sleds, as ever with Richard. 63.01. Well, currently on target to potentially beat her World Cup best result. So Nicole off a 6:59 start, the 9th fastest start so far, with a top 7 run. She's only 300s behind Kim Marmans and the top 6. So nurse from Calgary. Next up for Great Britain, Amelia Coltman, 27 years of age, former tennis player. Skeleton GB are finding athletes from all sorts of different disciplines. Amelia, this is now her 5th World Cup start, and her first full World Cup season. She's popped up occasionally, cycled in and out of the World Cup team. A chance now to use her experience. None of the British sliders, the British women, were in Beijing. Snow continuing to fall a little bit more heavily now, it looks like, from some of the longer shots. 3700s back, 7th fastest start, losing a little bit of ground, 8th place at the moment. And that should definitely be enough to see her in the top 25. Where will she be compared to the top 10? 10th at the moment, behind Anna Fernstedt, ahead of Li Yu-chi. And actually, she's got money in the bank compared to the Chinese athlete. Across the line, 10th it is, 63.54. So 3 new World Cup sliders for Team GB. You can see the red, white and blue, the red arrows there depicted on her helmet. The Royal Air Force display team. I'll have to ask why, because I've not seen that before, I don't think, on Amelia Coltman's helmet. Long skid there. And again, yawing away at the back.
Hello everyone at home. Hey Harry, hope you're watching.
It better be. It's only 8:05 in the morning in the UK. Next up, Hallie Clark for Canada. Just 19 years of age, second youngest athlete in the field. This is her second full World Cup season. Coach Joe Cicchini has been coaching Hallie since she was in her teens. Well, she's still in her teens, but since she was a young slider learning the ropes. 7th best start, but only the 10th best speed. Has not raced here before. 8th best speed is coming back to her. She had a real great debut season last year. 2 silver medals in Whistler, the season opener, which she knows, being a Canadian obviously, but in Innsbruck as well. Her fast start and her fast learning definitely helped. Raced in the Youth Olympic Games 2020 in St. Moritz. And this is a top 6 run from Hallie Clark on a track that she's never seen before. That's a great effort, 8th at the line, 63.06. Hard to argue with that. 7th fastest start and 8th at the bottom. That's a very good run. The final third of the track maybe getting away from her a little. But again, with the changing temperatures and humidity, I'm sure the track feels pretty different today to the way it has done through the training week. See that dropping anchor there, just dragging that left toe a little just to yaw the sled round, bring the nose down. So halfway through the field at the moment, this is Freya Tarbit of Great Britain, the 23-year-old. Her second World Cup race. Debut was in Winterberg in January. And she is our reigning Europe Cup champion. 6:28, what a strong start. 7th place for Freya Tarbit in Winterberg on her debut. She had an exceptional debut. Her and Tabby Stocker, really very surprising performances from 2 rookies. Agreed on a track that they knew relatively well. But Freya making this look like a pretty good run as well. Was 2200s up, down to 8. That big slide you saw, taking speed out of the sled. Only the 13th best speed, so the gap's going to open right up here, I'm afraid. And that's a shame. Out to 2800, so she was up to 3rd on the splits. And then one error is going to see her drop down towards the bottom of the top 10. 7th or 8th at the line, 9th place at the line, 63.07. So she is 100th behind Hallie Clark, 600th behind Nicole Silveira, and 900ths out of 6th. That is a very good run. 63.07. And that had the potential to be really a top 3 run. And this is the big, wild moment that possibly started the rot. And again, you see that shot. Puts her a little late here.
Hi everyone, thank you for watching.
So 23-year-old Freya Tarbit, good performance. Kimberly Boss the leader with 15 sleds down. Making her World Cup debut for Liechtenstein, 21-year-old Katharina Eigenmann. Raced in the ICC last year, started in 2019, raced in the Youth Olympic Games, and As far as I'm aware, the first female skeleton slider from Liechtenstein in the history of the sport, certainly in the modern history of the sport. 7:02 the getaway. So making her World Cup debut on a track that very few know, her included. 15th at the start, 15th at the moment. So ahead of Ana Torres-Quevedo. Kimberly Boss, the time of the race leader. It's less about that, it's about how many sliders you can put behind you so that you make the second heat. 25 of our 31 starters will go through into Heat 2, and Katarina Eigenmann may well be among them at the moment. She'll look back at it probably with her fingers over her eyes in horror, but that could be enough to put her into the second heat. 65.14. Okay, so she's our 16th athlete. We've got 14 more to go, if my maths is right, which it rarely is. Being helped out by the German team at the moment. She is ahead of Ana Torres-Quevedo of Spain. So that is one of the 6 that she needs to beat. And she is our first rookie. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more rookies to go. 5 more rookies to go. So Katarina Eigenmann might just have done enough to paint herself into a second heat on her debut, and that's not always easy in a full-fat skeleton field. Next up, Shannon Galea from Malta. Now, we have seen Shannon before, but not in World Cup action. Her first race was in January 2021 in Park City in the North America's Cup. That's how new she is to sliding. This is looking like a nice run so far. 7:13 getaway, so 16th at the start, behind Katarina Eigenmann. And that's really the battle of the rookies. 7 rookies, 6 sliders won't make the field. So for all these newcomers making their World Cup debut here, they're sort of eyeing all the other new faces around them, going, right, I've got to beat you, I've got to beat you, and I've got to beat you. 16th at the moment, behind Katarina Eigenmann, but still ahead of Ana Torres-Quevedo of Spain. And actually, that's not a bad-looking run either. 65.26. Wow, okay, I got this up. Only 1200s behind Katarina Eigenmann, so our first 2 rookies down, and barely a 1/10 of a second between them. And I'm pretty sure in World Cup terms, Shannon, is the first ever Maltese athlete. She competed in the Winter Games and had to basically form a Maltese sliding association. Next up from Colombia, so we have Brazil and Colombia on the start line. This is 24-year-old Laura Vargas, a former figure skater. What, because this is safer, possibly more adrenaline-riven. Again, Joe Cicchini helping out there at the start, the Canadian coach. Raced in the ICC and NAC, raced in the World Championships as well. Competed in the Youth Olympic Games in 2016, and then 3 years away from the sport. And you imagine that education had something to do with that. And she is back now. 15th best start, still in 15th place. So at the moment, she is our top debutante. And again, this is not looking like a bad run at all. Still top 15. Right now, she's in the race. 9th best speed. It's going to be a catastrophe somewhere if she doesn't make it through. This is a good-looking run. How close will she be to Xiao Dan of China, who is currently in 14th place. This could be quite close to the Chinese slider. It is quite close to the Chinese slider, but she is not ahead of her. 15th place for Laura Vargas. 64-64. So off a 6.89 start, 15th at the start, 15th at the bottom. That's a pretty clean run from the Colombian. So she is our top rookie at the moment, out of 18 sliders. There's the double hit.
Thank you for watching.
So many of these corners are linked together. Next up, Data Tonta, and this also is kind of a debut. It's her third World Cup start. 2 of those, though, were for Latvia. She's now sliding for Estonia. She's done 2 World Championships as well. 5th in the Youth Olympic Games in 2016. So Data Tonta making her debut for Estonia. And again for Estonia, I believe a first ever in skeleton, if not in all sliding sports. '15th best start, 6.79. That's a 10th ahead of Laura Vargas. So if she can hold on to that advantage, she should be ahead of the Colombian. Up to 14th place. She's ahead of Xiaodan of China. 9th best speed. This is a good-looking run from the Estonian. Busy feet, busy legs, everybody has. I can't wait to see Jacqueline Lurling, who will be, Jacqueline Pfeiffer she is now, who will be last. I would love to have seen, let's concentrate on what we are seeing. 63-66, 13th best run. That is a brilliant start for Estonia in women's skeleton. In Data's 2 previous World Cup starts, her best was an 18th place finish in Innsbruck in 2021. She's had a couple of years away from the World Cup. Didn't feel she was getting the support she needed in Latvia, and is now sliding for Estonia. And that's not a bad looking run. Data Tonta, 13th place. That's the way to do it. So next up, another near debutant, Mystique Rowe from the USA. Only the 2nd World Cup start for our push world champion from last season. The 29-year-old should have a quick start and does. 6.19, fastest of all. 3 wins in Europe Cup last year, where she was 3rd overall. She spent most of the season learning European tracks, so that should help when we get to Innsbruck next week. Only World Cup start was in Altenburg in Germany in January this year. So talk about in off the high board. And this is a similar nature track where you really have to drive to keep the speed alive. She is still in the green. She is still leading, only 4th best speed. Right now, this is a top 2 run from Mystique Rowe from the USA. 800 ahead, still she has a lead. Still working hard to stay ahead of Kimberly Boss of the Netherlands and Jane Channel of Canada. She's 3rd, 2100s back. That's a great start. There's Matt Antoine coaching the US sliders here. 62.70. That is a great start to her World Cup season, because the US team did not go to China. Nice stuff from Mystique Rowe. I mean, this is a heck of a long start here. It really takes the speed out of the legs, but she's brought the top speed at the start and held it for a top 3 position at the bottom. Kimberly Boss, Jane Channel and Mystique Rowe, the top 3 after our first 20 sleds. 20 down, 11 to go. Can you catch them all? This is Alessandra Fumagalli of Italy. 7th World Cup race for Alessandra, now 25 years of age. Had one World Cup start in 21, one World Cup start in 22, and the remaining 4 were last season. 6:42 start, just 500ths off leader Kimberly Boss. But the speed, look at that, only 18th. If that's accurate, then she is going to sink like a stone. That's a little better. Only 12th on the splits at the moment, Alessandra Fumagalli, so hanging around with Mimi Reniva, Anna Fernstedt. A bad-looking run, 4th best speed. Is she going to bring it back together in the lower reaches of the track, where the corners open up because of the speed? Track officially opened in 1991. The first race was a bobsleigh race. 6,300s back, 11th place, 63.12. So Billy Schneider there, who's helping with the coaching of the Italian skeleton team, along with Maurizio Oioli. Well, 9th at the start, 11th at the bottom. She brought it back a little bit. Was there a little slip here? We saw one from Valentina Margalio. There was, just missed that on the live. And that's got to hurt.
Next run.
So after Alessandra Fumagalli, we get to another little tranche of newcomers. Anja Unterscheider from Austria, 9th in the Youth Olympic Games in 2020, 20 years of age. She started just 3 seasons ago. 6:88 getaway, 18th fastest. And again, she's in that battle of the rookies to make the second heat. At the moment, everybody who's down, because we haven't yet had more than 25 sliders, is in the race. But it's what happens when we get to the tail of the field, particularly the last 2, should be guaranteed to go in, because it's Olympic champion Hannah Neiser and Jackie Pfeiffer, the former Jacqueline Lurling. 8,900s back, 18th place at the moment, so ahead of Laura Vargas of Colombia, ahead of Katrina Eigenmann of Liechtenstein, ahead of Shannon Galea of Malta. 9th best speed. If that's right, then Anja is going to pick up a lot of places. She's now ahead of Xiaodan of China. She's overhauling Li Yuxi of China. Good bottom part of the track here, and Anja Unterscheider will make the cut in her first run, 15th. She's in. Well, whatever Agat Bessar has told her, she's been able to put into practice. 63.61, she is in the race, but she's in a really tight group of sleds outside the top 13. She's 700s behind GB's Amelia Coltman. She's 500s ahead of Data Zunter, and only 1200s ahead of Li Yuxi, so lots of leeway there for improvements in that little battle.
Hallo Michael, hallo Mama, danke leider fürs Zuschauen.
Another rookie here, and another athlete we've actually seen before, but not in the World Cup. This is Austria's Anna Sauliter, the 24-year-old. Her name translates literally as sunshine. She's the under-20 junior world champion from last season. 6.80, 18th best start. So that's 800s ahead of teammate and fellow rookie Anja Unterscheider, but a little mistake there from Anna Sauliter, and that's going to drop her back a fraction. As most Austrians do in Innsbruck, started with luge. They start them on luge sleds there at the age of 3 or 4. They look like tiny bobbleheads walking along with their helmets on as they go to the track. And converted to skeleton when she was 16, old enough to do so. Competed in the World Championships in St. Moritz in February. 19th best at the moment, so ahead of Laura Vargas, Katrina Eigenmann. Let's see if she can hang on in that position inside the top 20. 18th, just sneaks ahead of Xiaodan at the line. 64.22. So 6100s behind teammate Anja Unterscheider, and 4 spots back. 3 spots back. Well, not a bad looking run. Again, you can see dropping anchor there with the left toe, keeping her head down as well. Shoulders are up a little here. That's lack of familiarity with the track. You need to look for the line. And there is Anna Zaulita. So her first ever World Cup slide under her belt. Next up for Switzerland, our youngest slider, 18 years of age, Sarah Schmidt. In fact, she is our under-20 junior world champion, not Anna Zaulita. She also competed in the World Champs in St. Moritz at the end of last season. 9th best start, 6:41 is a really good way to make your debut. Let's see if she can hang on to that pace all the way down the track. Nice looping height, little late flop, so many have taken. Speed is good. Top 10 run at the moment for Sarah Schmidt. Just 1200s back. This is fantastic stuff from the Swiss rookie. 7th best speed. It's an outstanding debut slide from Sarah Schmidt. Couple of taps, straight down the middle of the track. Gets the line she wants into the big right-hand corner, 19. Tiniest of rubs on the wall, top 6. Woo is correct. What a way to start. Sarah Schmidt. Welcome, yes, welcome to the World Cup. Look, even if her second heat all goes to hell in a handcart, and hopefully it won't do, she has executed exactly what she had been putting through her mind all day yesterday, watching the video, just rethinking it. Yes, a little wild and rocky, yes, a few mistakes, but who doesn't make them? But what a debut slide. Another of our new names, second World Cup race for Alina Pelkmans of Belgium. Made her debut in Altenburg in January. 5th in the ICC, 10th in Europa Cup. Started in February 2019, so another new slider. 677 the getaway. And that should be enough to put her in the race. 22nd best speed. So she needs to build her start velocity. But look at this, nice, neat and tidy run. Sounds like a Schneider sled. 18th at the moment, but the speed was looking good. Top speed at this stage was her teammate, Kim Marmans. Ooh, it's all going away a little down at the bottom. Maybe got a little bit conservative for control. Across the line, 22nd place. Well, she's ahead of Katrina Eigenmann, Shannon Gillier and Ana Torres Quevedo, so she could still make the second heat. 6:4.82 for Alina Pelkmans. On her World Cup debut in Altenburg, she didn't make the cut, she was 23rd. If she's 23rd in this heat, she will make the second heat, because it's a bigger field. Oh, stood on the sled. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, You do occasionally see that happen. We've seen 3 missed loads here already, haven't we? Sarah Roderick now from the USA. Sarah in her second World Cup start, the 30-year-old. Made a debut in Innsbruck in January 21. Hasn't raced in the World Cup since. She had a cleaner start, 6:41 getaway. That's a top 10 start. And if she can keep that pace alive, 19th best speed. Well, some of the speeds we're getting from the speed traps may be slightly affected by the snow. Out to 12th on the splits. Again, lots of shoulders we're seeing. Her head is up, her shoulders are up, basically increasing the frontal area, increasing the aerodynamic drag. It's because she's not certain where the line is. 19th best speed. She's 4 kilometers an hour down on Tina Hermann, who is fastest at that stage. 7/10ths back, top 15 run still. So this could be very comfortably in the race. Sarah Roderick, 15th at the line, that'll do nicely, she's in. Racing the world champs in Altenburg in 2021 as well, after racing there in the World Cup. Started back in 2018-19 season, a year before we came here for the last time, so only her 5th year on ice. Top 15, take that. Again, another athlete who has not seen this track before. So Sarah Roderick, 15th at the line, and that will put her comfortably into the second heat. At the moment, Ana Torres Quevedo is out, and 25th, Shannon Galea is on the bubble. Kelly Delker next up for Puerto Rico. Former pole vaulter. She started her ice career back in March 2013. So a decade heading down mountains head first on a T-tray. Kelly entirely self-funded. If you follow her on social media, you know that she is still looking for the rest of the season's budget. So racing on and trying to find the funding. Remarkably, she reckons she can do a race weekend for around $500 worth of sponsorship. Little slide there. 17th at the start, 15th place though on the splits. Didn't race here before. World Cup best, a 14th place finish in Lake Placid. Drifting out again to 17th, maybe 18th on the splits. And again, she too, head up, shoulders up, looking for the line. Hard to keep your shoulders down and out of the airstream, but across the line, 17th. She's in the race. And Malta's Shannon Galea is out. Is there anyone, I'm just asking for a friend, is there anyone who Agat Bessar has not been helping coach among the smaller nations? Well, if you've got the potential to learn from somebody who grew up at the track, I don't just mean sliding, I mean literally grew up at the track, then of course you take it. And that's worked for Kelly Delker. So Puerto Rico is in, Spain and Malta are out. And Liechtenstein now on the bubble. Nice work, Kelly. Big smile now for our final rookie in the field, Julia Simpson, who turns 22 on Tuesday. Mum Connie Simpson slid skeleton at the end of last century, the beginning of this. And her great-grandfather, her grandfather was an Olympic champion as well. So 6:84 getaway, 23rd best start. Nice looking run so far, 24th on the splits. Let's see if Julia can find a little bit of pace. At the moment she's ahead of Ana Torres Quevedo. Shannon Galair, Katrina Eigenmann and Elena Peltmans could be driving herself into a race. She really needs a couple of spots behind her. 23rd at the line, 22nd at the line would probably be enough. 22nd on the splits at the moment from Julia Simson. She might be in. 22nd will do it. 21st does do it. Julia Simson makes the cut. 63.96. So the Swiss slider born in Dresden, which is just down the road from Altenburg, or just up the road from Altenburg.
Liebe Grüße an Corinna.
So granddaughter of Olympic champion Jean Wicki and dad Alan Wicki and mum Connie Simpson, also sliders. It's a third generation of the family. Next up, Tabby Stoker, 23-year-old junior world champion, second in Europa Cup, behind her best buddy Freya Tarbit. Two of them are a great double act. 6:17, fastest start in the field for Tabby. Second ever World Cup start for her. She made her debut in Winterberg in January, along with Freya. And she finished in 12th place in Winterberg, second fastest speed, but she's 3600ths in the lead at the moment. Hello, hello. This is a really nice, composed looking run. Watch her heels, watch her ankles, see how close they are together, see how she's keeping that aerodynamic form. I know that Mark Wood used to bring his training groups here in development period. I think she might have been one of the last that he brought through. So she may have more knowledge of the field than some. Is she going to lead at the line? No, 400s back in second place. Matthias Guggenberger and Martin Stukurs are the coaches for Skeleton GB. A lot of knowledge in there. 62.53. What a run from Tabby Stoker. And she should be happy with this. She'll be slightly disappointed that she was 3600ths up and didn't have the lead at the bottom, but come on.
Thanks for watching. Love you all so much.
Okay, now then, 2 to go. Kimberly Bobsleigh from Tabby Stoker and Jane Channel. Will our final two sliders upset the apple cart? This is our Olympic champion, Germany's Hannah Neisser. Has not raced here. Has 1 Olympic gold medal, 1 World Cup gold medal to her credit, and a World Cup bronze. 1200s back at the start, 6:49 is a very competitive start. Tabby Stoker raised the bar a bit there with a 6:17 getaway. A couple of hundreds quicker than Jane Channel, who was second fastest starter. Third best speed. So she's bringing the gap down to a 10th. This should be a shout for a medal for Hannah Neisser, but on a track that she doesn't know. 4th best speed. 10th on the splits, 5th best speed. Couple of taps. She's going to be well inside the top 10. Is she in the top 5? How close to the lead? 3200s back, 6th position. Well, it's something to manoeuvre from in the second heat.
Start time 6:49. Time for
So Hannah Neisser, the Olympic skeleton champion. She starts 30th and comes down in the top 6. And what the athletes were telling me the other day is this track has held up really well throughout the training week. Whether bobsleighs have been on it or not, it still has the same pace and the same feel. So That at least helps. Well, there's Tabby Stucker offering her congratulations to Hannah Neiser. And our final slider, welcome back to the World Cup, Jackie Lurling, as was now Jackie Pfeiffer. So Jacqueline Pfeiffer, 55th World Cup race, the first with her married name. 28 years old, Olympic silver medalist in Pyeongchang, has been missing from the World Cup team for the last couple of seasons because Germany are now allowing them to have, or because the rules allow the Germans to have more athletes in, then she gets in as well. So 10th best speed off 6:65 start. Our 2017 world champion. The world champs are on her home track in Winterberg in January and February this year. Top 6 speed, 14th on the splits. Will this be a top 10 run on her return to the World Cup? Best speed of all for Jackie Pfeiffer. This is the way it goes. Long toe drags there, though. She's going to be close to Hannah Neiser. She could overhaul the Olympic champion. Looking for a top 6 at the line. 3rd place finish. Top 3 covered by 900s. You see, for a number of seasons, she's been kept out of the German squad because her start didn't cut it. You don't win medals at the start. You win them at the finish line. There's the smile that we've been missing, 62.58. That is brilliant from Jacqueline Pfeiffer. And there were mistakes on the way. If she'd had a cleaner run, and don't forget that although she has raced here in 2020 and she took the bronze medal then, she's actually not been in the World Cup field for a couple of seasons.
Schöne Grüße nach Hause.
She is back. Kimberly Boss, the Olympic bronze medalist, leads from Tabby Sturcker of Great Britain, and Jacqueline Pfeiffer is 3rd on her return. So Kimberly Boss of the Netherlands, the leader. Top 4 covered by 1200s, 2100s back in 5th is Mystique Rowe. Valentina Margalio in 6th, ahead of Olympic champion Hannah Neiser, who's 100th ahead of Tina Hermann. I think there's quite a lot to look forward to in the second heat. Well, that is how the top 10 lines up, and we will look all the way down our order through 31 sleds after the overnight withdrawal of our world champion Suzanne Kreyer. Anna Zaulita in 25th place makes it in. Xiaodan of China does not, nor do rookies Laura Vargas, Katrina Eigenmann, Shannon Galea, and Elena Peltmans, and Anna Torres-Quevedo also outside the top 25. So the cutoff is at 25th now. The top 25 go through into the second heat. So Anna Zaulita will go through for Austria. She will be the first off. Xiaodan, Laura Vargas, Elena Peltmans, Katrina Eigenmann, and Shannon Galea, along with Anna Torres-Quevedo, will be watching the second heat from the sidelines. You can join them and us when we come back with the second heat at 10:30. I should have written it down, shouldn't I? 10:30 local time, 09:30 GMT. You can join us for the second and deciding heat as we go 25-1 to figure out who's going to get the medals here in Laplagne.
Leuk dat jullie kijken op de vroege vrijdagochtend.